we're going to take a 2-week break to chill out and put a nice bow on 2019. It's been a great year. Thanks for listening and all the feedback and support. While we're on break, please enjoy these replays of the most popular episodes of 2020 with Dean Wiltshire from Colorado Teardrops and Ross and Rochelle from gear rental service Arrive. You can support the show on our relaunched Patreon page at patreon.com/theoutdoorbizpodcast. And if publishing a podcast is on your action list for 2020, come and learn with me and the Adriatic Academy on an adventure-filled workshop in Croatia. 8 days of classes, adventures, hands-on instruction, field trips, all lodging, and more. There are 2 opportunities to join us in May. Go to ricksays.com/Croatia and get all the details to sign up. Episode 177 of the Outdoor Biz Podcast. I'm talking teardrop trailers with Dean Wiltshire of Colorado Teardrops. I'm coveting one of these beautiful trailers. Hey, Dean, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, great to catch up with you. Sorry we couldn't do this in person, but it's always good to talk to someone who's making cool product. You guys make some great stuff. I was drooling all over your website today. It's awesome.
Well, thank you for that. We take a lot of pride, and really I can't take full credit for that because our customers have been driving us towards ergonomically satisfying design for years.
Mm-hmm. That's good. So how'd you get into the outdoors? What was your first outdoor experience?
Well, first of all, I live in Colorado. And
makes it easy.
California. Yeah. Growing up in California, we'd take these great vacations in Northern California, things like various reservoir, renting cabins and along the Russian River and catching fish. And then moving out here to Colorado in the late 80s. I know I'm dating myself. But our sky is so blue here in the summertime. Our mountains are so vibrant. The sunset, that Bronco sunset, we see it almost every night. The deep blue, the bright orange. It's a fabulous place to exist.
It's pretty amazing. I used to live in Louisville for a little while. Yeah, it's beautiful out there. Yeah, a while back. Yeah. So you went from boat building to building trailers. What was that transition like?
Well, my dad was a British carpenter and a boat builder before he left the UK. I'm an immigrant.
Okay.
So we moved to the Bay Area as our first landing, if you will. Mm-hmm. And he, as a boat builder, would make cabin cruisers in the back garden when I was a child.
Wow.
And being the eldest and just loving the heck out of my dad, I would help him. So I'd carry his fiberglass and his nails and hold things in place. And, it was so satisfying to me to start with all this flat pile of plywood, if you will, and these members. And after 2-3 weeks, physically have a 30-foot hull created in our back garden by my dad, with me being his young assistant, if you will.
Very cool,
so,
yeah.
That was really cool. So he taught me those type of skills that I didn't always use through my professional career, but have always appreciated. They're so handy.
Yeah. So you learned to work with different shapes early on then.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, I actually have a disability. I'm dyslexic, and they say part of dyslexia is that you see differently, right?
Mm-hmm.
You understand differently. So if I close my eyes and I think of a teardrop trailer, for example, or a boat, I literally see it in 3D.
Wow!
I can, zoom into the layers and stuff. But please don't ask me to spell check something.
Right.
Yeah, those other skills aren't there. But I'm pleased with the ones my disability has given me.
Yeah, that's some unique talents. Yeah, so, and you were used to listen to building small living spaces because boats are very similar to a trailer, I would imagine.
Absolutely. In 2007, I became a sailor. I lived aboard a boat in Santa Cruz for a little while, sailboat, and got my captain's license.
Oh, cool.
And just intrigued with, the tiny places you have to crawl into to sleep while you're under sail or what have you. And being landlocked here in Colorado, I brought that. These are, there's a romance, if you will, with a sailboat in the sense that for centuries, whether they were Polynesians or Europeans, would get aboard and they'd say, "See y'all later. I'm going on an adventure," and they'd literally sail off into the sunset. And in many cases, they never came back.
Yeah.
But those that did had fabulous stories of the wonderments and the view beyond the horizon.
Right.
And so that romance has always been with me. And being landlocked again here in Colorado, that's what teardrops represent to me, the sense of adventure.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all modern people now with our automobiles and such.
Mm-hmm.
To escape, we just, with our teardrops, we just hook up and roll over the horizon.
Yeah, go anywhere. Yeah, yeah. So tell us about Colorado Teardrops. You guys make some cool stuff. What was the inspiration behind the product? Just to carry over on manufacturing, like from sailboats?
No. Actually, my daughter and I went camping in 2011. She's as old as the year, and one of the reasons I started Colorado Teardrops. But
Cool.
we went from Boulder, Colorado, all the way to Kauai, Hawaii for a wedding in August. So we started in June and camped all summer long. We started out in a tent, and about a week and a half into our camping trip across the West with stops like Steamboat and Dinosaur National Monument and such, we were up in Yellowstone, Lake Yellowstone specifically, and got a normal camping site. And as we set up the tent, we looked up and there was actually a sign nailed to the tree that said, "Danger, bear activity, do not cross," right?
Right.
It's one of those spooky forests where you stick your head in. It's like, ooh, this is like Sleeping Beauty kind of spooky forest kind of thing. So we stayed out of that part of the forest, and we had a wonderful time, mind you. So we didn't have any negative experiences.
Didn't have any encounters.
Ourselves.
That's good, yeah.
Right. But the morning we left, we were going up to Glacier National Park for our next stop. A grizzly killed a camper. That morning. And so heard it on NPR as we were rolling north through Montana and decided, let's make a left. And so we went through Idaho and kept dropping south because we wanted to avoid the grizzlies. And being a father, us fathers, we're protective of our young, right?
Yeah, sure.
Much like the grizzlies are.
Right.
I started noodling on what could I do with a smaller car. At the time I had a Honda Accord cross tour. What could I haul with that would give Sarah and I a hard shell to protect us from bears? And it actually took me about a year and a half to figure it out.
Yeah.
So we stumbled upon
bears can get in cars, as you know. I mean, they'll snap
Oh
right in.
yeah, they can bust windows and so on. But a grizzly, even if it attacks your car, you still have some metal around because that big grizzly is probably not going to crawl in your car. It's the black bear that will do that.
Right. And we see them in cars in Yosemite all the time. I live in Bishop, so when we get up to Yosemite, they're in cars all the time. They just get in there and get stuck.
Exactly. Pursuing those McDonald's apples.
Right, exactly.
So we wanted a hard shell around us, and it took a little while to discover teardrops, which is interesting because teardrops were actually invented in about the 30s, the 1930s. In fact, the oldest picture I've seen of a teardrop trailer is in a remote part of Colorado at that time in I'm going to say the early 30s,
really?
Towed behind a Model T, and this teardrop trailer had wagon wheels. So the remote part for the locals listening in Colorado was Sloan Lake, which is this great part of Denver now. It's park-like, but still, it's an urban setting, if you will.
Right.
So
they're that old? I didn't realize they were that old.
Yeah. They because of their shape, if you were to take molten steel and drop it through the air, it would form a teardrop. In fact, that's how they used to make ball bearings, right? Drop steel. So a teardrop is the perfect shape to travel through space.
Okay.
And especially one with atmosphere. So, in fact, as I haul across America, I not always follow the speed limit. I might accelerate a little bit, and I'll feel, I'll see the teardrop actually hunker down to the road a little more.
Interesting.
And so because of its shape, it hugs the road. And I had an employee with a Tacoma pickup truck. He swore that if he towed our Canyonland teardrop to Moab from Boulder here, he would get better gas mileage in his pickup truck than just driving his pickup truck.
Really? Wow. So they're very aerodynamic. They
Oh,
look
they
like they
are,
are. Yeah.
absolutely.
Interesting.
Right. And so that's when a more thought went into a
Mm-hmm.
shape, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the 50s and 60s, 70s, we started getting bigger and bulkier. And honestly, working with a big rectangle is easier for design
Sure.
as far as interior spaces. But if we look at today's fifth wheelers or big square boxy RVs,
Yeah.
they are a nice big box, if you will, which
Right.
is efficient on the inside, but not necessarily efficient on the
Exactly.
outside.
Horrible on the outside. Yeah. My parents we had a 1959 Airstream growing up. And
Oh, sweet.
yeah, pretty cool. But it was, you're right, it was tough to work. My dad was like to modify things as well. So it was difficult on the inside because of all those curves. You're right.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And but still so satisfying. That's where the boat skills come
I was
in,
going to say,
right?
yeah, that's where your
In a
boat
sense.
experience comes in. Yeah. Yeah.
Love those French curves, always have.
That's got to be tricky I mean, there's got to be some math and a lot of design work that goes into all the creations that you guys do. It's pretty impressive.
Well, and that's where thank you. That's where the dyslexia comes in. Growing up in the Bay Area, I became a computer-aided design PCB designer. So I was using my skills, if you will, or my disciplines to design in 3D. So today, of course, we still use 3D CAD to design the shapes, and that gives us some great accuracy. And of course, we can output anything to a CNC machine to get those curves. But quite honestly, we at Colorado Teardrops, we don't own our own CNC. We're still loving touching the wood, the aluminum, making it all so it's very, very precise to the shapes we're making.
Yeah. So you can visualize something in 3D before you design it. That's got to be a great skill. I mean, holy cow.
But even with 3D, there are limitations, right?
Yeah.
It's not until you physically build something that you're able to make sure it all works, if you will.
That's true.
Yeah. But it is satisfying. There's nothing more professionally satisfying to me than to visualize something, sketch it out either on a whiteboard or a legal tablet, and then go off and build it, and then stand back and look at the actual object. Realize, I mean, to me, that's the highest form of satisfaction professionally.
Is that what you enjoy most about your work?
There's so much. We have a team of about 17 now. And part of the satisfaction I get as well is coaching the younger generation in craftsmanship, in skill and pride, and just other life skills. So I find great satisfaction in mentoring the younger folks that work for me.
That's great. What have been a couple of the toughest challenges getting the trailers off the ground and growing?
So
more than a couple, I'll bet.
Yeah, there have been a lot, and always, at the top of the list has to be cash flow, in the sense that cash flow is always a challenge, in the sense that you could buy 6 months worth of parts, but are you going to park 6 months worth of money in the parts?
Right.
And are those parts going to be available next month? Maybe you should buy 6 months worth of parts. So there are challenges in that respect. And then just the way we do business, we have never asked for credit with any of our vendors, with any of our banks or anything, because I just get great satisfaction knowing that we're paying our bills, we're not over leveraged any which way. But at times, you'll hit mid-December and it's like, okay, it's snowing outside. Teardrops aren't on many people's Christmas lists.
Right.
We got to go lean for a minute. And so expanding and contracting the business to match the pulse of consumers' purchasing habits is, it's an art form, if you will. And at times it's stressful as heck.
I'll bet. Yeah, I'll bet. And so how do you engage consumers and buyers? Do you go to a lot of shows and events, or do they all come to you, to your showroom?
Well, we love doing shows. We really do. And in fact, I send my team out to do the local shows as well. I mean, I'm talking builders, and some of them are introverts. Crowds scare them.
Right.
But so shows are absolutely wonderful for us.
Hmm.
However, they don't really produce the quantity of leads that we'd like. And let me just get back to the team for a second. I like the people working for me to understand what a live prospect looks like,
That's
what the
great.
questions they ask
Yep.
ask, and how the product appears. So
Yeah.
I like my team to get that feedback. But
That's great.
really, our biggest impact right now, and we're selling nationally, is our website, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
As I mentioned a little earlier, we're getting just about 1,000 hits a day of
Wow.
new visitors to our websites across America. And
That's great.
lately, most of our trailers have been rolling out of state, which is so flattering for a person to communicate with you email wise, say, hey, I like this, can you do that, so on and so forth. And mind you, we haven't met them, we haven't looked them in the eye, we haven't shook their hand. And they're like, okay, I like it. Here's my credit card, or I'm mailing you a check, or I just took out a loan.
Wow.
And, we're asking for 50%. So what we're saying to them is, hey, you don't really know us. Other people do. Other people seem to like us.
Yeah.
We take great pride in what we do. We're real people. We live in this beautiful place. We would like to enable your adventures. And they sign up for it. So,
That's great.
It's so very flattering. But really, most of our business is coming from just the internet. And probably the smartest thing I did when I started the company was declare the name as Colorado location, which
smart.
has all kinds of positive attributes, and then teardrop product. So that works well for us. Mr. Google and SEO, just has this pop up whenever anybody types in teardrop now, because we've been at it for over 5 years.
Wow, good for you. And what kind of shows do you do? Do you do consumer shows or like county fairs? What kind of things do you go to?
So we're starting to do more off-road
Overland Expo kind of thing.
Exactly. And we certainly do the International Sportsman's Expo. We do a couple of RV shows. We just did the GoPro games in Vail, which
good.
It's in our backyard, if you will. So those kind of shows. But in the bigger picture, we'd love to hit the West Coast, the East Coast, especially the Overlander show in the Carolinas there.
Oh, cool.
That's definitely on our list to hit. I think it's October, right?
I think so. Yeah. And so what's your distribution network like? Do you have any dealers, or do you have anybody on the East Coast that has a few trailers that people can look at?
No, we sell directly out of Boulder, Colorado. Most of again, customers in Virginia and Georgia and New York and Pennsylvania and all over the West Coast, they look at our website. Sometimes they fly in and meet us, but they're looking at our website and laying down both money and trust that we'll deliver.
It's a beautiful website. I was poking around, like I say, today. You guys done a great job.
Well, thank you. My friends in the RV industry, and I hate to admit it, but we're part of that industry.
Sure.
They both recommend and then discourage a sales channel. One of the reasons we're able to create such a great product is because we don't have to pay a remote sales channel a chunk of money. Therefore, we're able to put that money, if you will, into materials and quality.
No, that's smart. That can be a big expense. I've been a sales guy for a number of different brands, and you get a big team of salespeople and samples and things you have to have on the road. That can be expensive quick. So
right, and sales people are typically driven by commission, and so is a sales organization, if you will.
Right.
And so if you are the lowest priced unit on a RV showroom floor, then you're going to get the less attention by the salespeople,
Yeah.
but probably the most attention, at least with our product, by the actual consumer.
Yeah.
So, they're going to use you for eye candy and then try and upsell you into, a $50,000 or $100,000 box.
Yeah. Well, and from what I can tell on the website, you guys do really high quality, beautiful work. So, the craftsmanship is part of what you're selling there as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
That's great. Yeah. So this whole category has kind of exploded lately. It
is.
Yeah. What do you think the future looks like? Are we pretty early in it, or is it?
We're pretty early in it. So you're probably not old enough to remember this, but I am.
I don't know. I'm pretty old.
In the 1970s, gasoline, I remember sitting in gas lines with my parents.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I remember that.
To where they were giving you stuff, and we're talking 30 cents a gallon for gas at that
I was
point.
driving. I was waiting in gas lines.
There you go. So Detroit just couldn't meet the demand of small fuel-efficient cars. They tried it with the Pinto. They tried it with the Vegas.
Yep.
They tried it with the was it the Pacer? No,
Pacer.
The Gremlin.
Sorry, the Gremlin. You're right.
I remember that. So Detroit just couldn't deliver. Meanwhile, Honda, Toyota, at the time Datsun, they were killing it.
Yeah.
I think that the millennials, the Gen Xs, and the on the edge of baby boomers are saying, hey, wait, why did I take a second out of my house to buy this big box that's depreciated right off the lot?
Yep.
And I can't take it to just any campsite. I have to get reservations, which in spectacular places can take years to get.
Yep.
Why don't I buy something that affords me mobility, agility, the ability to get way out back, away from the crowd, so you're not camping next to the guy watching the NBA playoffs,
right?
On his big 50-inch TV outside of his RV.
Exactly, on the side of his the screen on the side of his RV, right?
Right. So I see a continued explosive growth. Mm-hmm. We've doubled every year since we've started.
Wow,
both in units out and sales numbers and square footage. It's a pain to move all the time, but you keep outgrowing your space. You got to.
Yeah, that's a good problem to have.
So I see that in the industry, and there's also an issue of quality within the RV issue. That people are like, again, I took out a second, this RV thing depreciated like 27% as soon as I started up and drove it away. I got 15 years of payments on it, to where a teardrop's just so much more flexible. And the world's realizing that. Additionally, while the RV industry has done somewhere between 400 and 500,000 units a year for the last several years, campsites have not grown.
Exactly.
They have not scaled. So, again, you buy this big unit and it's like, oh, gosh, 2022, I'll be in Yellowstone. Wonderful.
Right.
To where your teardrop, it's already loaded. It might be parked in the garage. You look at the weather and go, yeah, I think I'll go camping tonight. Hook up. And you're, in my case, 20 minutes up the canyon, you're in a wonderful, peaceful spot. And, it might be a Thursday night.
Yeah, super flexible. Yeah, that's why I'm thinking about it. I live in Bishop, so the whole Eastern Sierra up and down is just perfect for these little teardrops, because there's so much public lands with dirt roads and accessible. Like you say, you can get away from the crowds and camp, and it's like a tent. It's awesome, but it's way more comfortable than a tent. So
right,
I think you're right.
Just a funny little ad lib here. We have 14ers here in Colorado, right? And everybody wants to summit their 14ers and so on and so forth. It's a great thing to do, but you have to prepare. You have to be up early in the morning for it, right? So you got to be up at 4:30, 5:30, because you have to be on your way back down at lunchtime, because the thunderstorms are going to chase you down. You don't want to be up top when it starts lightening up. our customers keep complaining that they're sleeping in. They're missing their windows.
It's too comfortable.
Right. Where if they were in a tent on the ground, they wouldn't have slept, and they'd be looking forward to the alarm going off so they could get a hyphen.
That's really funny. Yeah. We have that going on today. Big thunderstorms today. Yeah, it's beautiful. So where did your entrepreneurial spirit come from? Did you always have that, or is that something you cultivated later?
I used to fake I was sick when I was a kid and develop business plans. Things like little regional airlines or, build this or what have you. So I've always had the spirit. And about 7 years ago, I worked for a local boulder company, and they had a script buyer personality profile thing.
Oh, yeah.
And the purpose... Oh, Myers-Briggs.
Myers-Briggs. Oh, yeah, I took one of those.
My daughter's sitting next to me.
Oh, perfect.
The grizzly bear girl.
Sarah, right? Hi, Sarah.
Sarah. Hi, Sarah. So the Myers-Briggs
the personality
interview thing.
Yeah.
Personality thing. So I took that, and the purpose was if you have a meeting with somebody that you have a conflict for, you could look up their personality type and figure out the best way for the two of you to communicate.
Right.
So there were about 250 of us in this company. I took my test, and I was the only one that got the exact same rating as the founder of the company. And it was basically entrepreneur. And I was like, okay, here's another sign from, the gods.
Yeah, got to do something.
Doing something, right?
Yeah. Good for you.
Yeah,
so, is Colorado Teardrops your first business, or did you have a business on the boat building side also, or another business?
Oh, well, yeah, no, I had a business designing printed circuit boards in the in the late 80s. So a service bureau, if you will, based in Boulder, Colorado. That worked really well for a while. Until the space shuttle blew up, the first blow up, and my customers all kind of froze up. So I sold the business and got a good corporate job again. But I've always had the spirit, and I have always wanted to be embedded. But I had a software company going forward before I got into teardrops, and I was writing this app that's still a little bit ahead of the curve. Today, 6 years later, that when you write an app for mobile devices and such, you need a whole lot of money to promote it. So wrote this app, had a budget for marketing and launching the app, which was about $250,000.
No, that's
Meanwhile, I had built this teardrop, and my daughter and I, Sarah, first went camping. We came out of the Safeway and getting our groceries for our camp trip. And our doors were open to our teardrop. People were all around our teardrop. People were inside laying down, right? So imagine getting that Corvette you've always wanted, right?
Right.
You park in the parking lot, you forget to lock the door, you come out, and people are sitting in pretending they're in a race or something.
That's crazy.
So we looked at these people, and they were so embarrassed in the sense that they lost themselves with the romance of
But man, talk about consumer validation. Holy cow.
Right. So Sarah and I scurried them away, loaded our groceries, went up camping all weekend. People were like, oh, can I see inside? And then driving back late Sunday night or Monday morning, we had 3 cars follow us into the gas station to ask us all about it.
Wow.
Like, wait a sec, another sign from the universe.
Yeah, here's something.
Saying, here's something. Instead of spending that $250,000, if you will, on marketing this app that may or may not get traction, maybe I should be doing that. So
awesome.
I took 2-3 days and weighed all the pros and cons, and Colorado Teardrops. Here we are.
That's awesome. That's great. So what outdoor activities do you participate in? You still get out and camp a lot? Sounds like it.
Oh, yeah. We camp a lot. I'm a fly fisherman, skier, mountain bikes, hiker. I just love our environment. And, even when you're driving through mid Nevada, So if you're on Highway 50, the loneliest highway in the world.
Yep. Been there.
Yeah. If you make a right or a left off of that highway, you can just keep driving. And I love the romance of that. My mom lives in California in the Sierra foothills on the California side, if you will. I can get there in a day and a half. I actually take 5 days nowadays.
Right. Nice.
So that I get a good wandering, go hit those spots.
Yeah. Well, you got to swing by. If you ever come through Bishop, let me know. We'll go camping.
Well, I would love that. And Bishop has always been on my list because it's also a great hang gliding spot.
Yeah.
To jump off the ridge line there, you can go for...
They do that a lot here. Yeah. Do you do that too?
I used to until I scared the holy bejesus out of me.
Bet. Yeah. I'm not good at jumping off things or out of things.
Right.
So have you had any mentors that have helped you along the way?
Oh, yeah. Here in town, the cool thing about Boulder, Colorado is we have entrepreneurs throughout town. There's Boulder Startup Week every week. So when I was doing my software company, I worked on the fourth floor to where everybody rented single offices. And so there were all these wonderful entrepreneurs that you could ask questions to and so on. So
that's huge. Yeah.
Great folks like that. And then, I'm British, so Winston Churchill, oh my God, the challenges he had, the mental challenges he also had, and he overcame. Being British, again, an immigrant, we're tough folks.
Yeah.
We can take a punch, shake it off, and get back up, which is what being an entrepreneur is like. It's not as glamorous as, Elon Musk makes it seem to be all the time, right?
He's
taken plenty of punches and, some of them publicly, but little
still
things
at it.
like, the city coming to say, hey, you're not zoned to do that there.
Yeah.
Dang,
Oh, well, what do I got to do? Yeah.
Right. Tap dancing your way in or out of situations.
That's right. Yeah.
So,
do you have any suggestions or advice for folks wanting to get into, their own business like that or into the outdoor industry somehow?
Yeah, absolutely. Test. In the sense that if these folks look up things like lean product management, it is all about throw something out there, see if it gets some traction. If it doesn't get some traction, understand why. How can you modify it to get traction? So when we started our business, for example, we started with a rental business. Why? So that we could get a lot of opinions on our product before we started making them for sale.
Smart.
Right? And that way, so test, optimize, test, optimize, test, which is what we've been doing for years. So start off that way. Start off small. It doesn't cost a lot to pop up a website and say, hey, I'm selling this. And just measure your traffic. You don't have to deliver, nor should you take money. But test. See what kind of hits you get. And keep tweaking it until you start to get hits. And of course, that's in the virtual world. Nothing better than face-to-face with people. Now, as you're testing, you can't ask leading questions. You have to ask open-ended questions. What did you think? And you have to be okay with somebody insulting your product or your idea. You got to keep smiling, let it happen because you're learning. They're giving you something better than money.
That's right. So, and a lot of the feedback that you get ends up being some of your sales copy and your sales spiel because they're just the things that they like.
Oh yeah, there's so much to learn.
That's great advice.
Constantly. Even today, I continue to test and learn. Our customers are very particular in some cases. We're working with a woman in Northern California right now that really would like us to pimp out a galley with wine glass holders and wine bottle holders, a lot of wine involved, right? And other features. And we're going to do that for her so that we can test her theory. So when we do that, we don't price it to make profit. We price it to understand mutually the concept so that we can get pictures and see how they trend.
Sure, learning. Then you can sell that to someone else, right?
Right, exactly. Then we can productize it and be very efficient with something that goes real well.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Do you have any routines that keep your sanity every day? You meditate, walk the dog, exercise?
So yoga, mountain bike riding, both real important. Just to keep your sanity. Also, a little humor at night is important to shake off the day.
That's good.
So the Daily Show or whatever you got to watch to make you laugh and forget about either the pure bliss you went through or the pure hell you went through that day.
Right. That's good advice, right? How about favorite books? Do you give books as gifts, or do you have any favorite books?
Being dyslexic, I can't quote you.
Right. How about favorite podcasts? That's always I ask that people a lot.
How We Build This.
Yeah, that's a good one. I figured you would like that.
That's a great one. Yeah, that's a wonderful podcast.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah, along with Freakonomics and some of the other great things out there. So when I do read books, I love history. I love seeing courage. I love the story, the typical Greek story setup. You got your hero that's got a problem. He finds a guide. The guide guides him, and he solves all the problems. And the guide, that's how we position ourselves. By the way, Colorado Teardrops, we're simply guides. The hero in the story is our customer that decides to buy. So their family or their spouse or whomever is feeling the same bliss when they're out in the wild.
That's great. You guide their ideas into fruition.
Right.
That's awesome.
It's very satisfying work. It really is.
I'll bet. How about a favorite outdoor gear purchase under $100?
Oh, so I get myself the best gifts, I tell you. There is a fire pit. Unfortunately, across the West, we see fire bans. We've been blessed. California, Colorado, and everywhere in between has had great wet seasons leading up to today, right? But come September, we may still have fire bans. So a fire pit off of our 11-pound propane tank, it's awesome because if you are in a campsite, you will be the only person with a fire going in that campsite.
That's
and
right.
You're going to meet everybody. Everybody's going to come by and offer you a whiskey or a beer to sit next to the only fire in the
That's right. That's right.
It's quite nice, yeah.
That's great advice. Do you have a particular one that you like? Or do you guys make something?
No. I got this one from REI, and it's great. It was right around $100, and of course, Camp Chef makes great.
Those guys
camp
make
stoves and barbecues and so on and so forth. And we use them for our outdoor on-demand hot water showers. We actually have people that grab a bucket of creek water and use that for their shower. You can go from creek water to a nice warm shower real quick without using your drinking water. It's pretty darn cool.
It's huge. Yeah, those guys are great. I got to get that guy on the podcast. He and I have been playing podcast tag for about a year now. I have a Camp Chef smoker. It's great stuff. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I love the Everest stove, and the reason being is it puts out 20,000 BTU, where most of them put out 10,000 BTU. And that doesn't matter if you're, camping on the California coastline, but it does when you're camping at 10,000 feet in the Rockies or the Sierras.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. As we wrap up here, is there anything else you'd like to ask of our audience or say to our audience?
Well, whatever you do, make sure quality is shown. Don't ever give up on quality. Don't let a financial advisor tell you that you can make more money if you're cheaper on your materials, you're cheaper on your process. You have to start with quality because at the end of the day, that shows value.
That's a good idea. That's a good suggestion, yeah. So where can people find you if they want to follow up? Is email, Instagram, LinkedIn? How can they reach out?
So ColoradoTeardrops.com is our website. I'm Dean at ColoradoTeardrops.com. Happy to answer any of your questions with joy and bliss.
Cool. Well, we'll link to that on the show notes. We'll put a link to your website. And it's been great talking to you, Dean. I look forward to seeing one of your trailers in person. Like I say, I'm drooling all over them. Can't wait to get my hands on one. Yeah, great.
We're getting more and more in California, too.
Great. Sounds good.
Thanks so much. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
If you want more of the Outdoor Biz Podcast, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to go to theoutdoorbizpodcast.com where you find all the episodes, show notes, and much, much more. Until next time, be sure to make time to get outside.